I really want to challenge both the superintendent and the next board that'll be elected to consider what does good look like? What are we satisfied with as a community? Specifically, you tossed a number earlier when we talked about the relieving overcrowding options for high schools at $150 million.
That's for if we do it all brick and mortar for all our relocatables, yes, sir.
That's exactly right. And so we don't have $150 million today.
And that's on top of your capital budget.
I get it. That's right. But what if by 2030 we had, instead of 230 relocatables, we had 20 relocatables? And what if by 2030 they were in fact temporary measures, not permanent appendages added to buildings?
Sure.
So this isn't a conversation for tonight, but I want to challenge the superintendent to come up with an alternative CIP. You know, the current CIP is what it is, and we're not going to take away those things that are in the plans for next year, next 7, 6, 5, whatever. But if the community is this dissatisfied with relocatables, and if we come up with a rational budget and a rational runway for 2030, that we have, 90% less we're always going to have relocatables. We always need the flexibility associated with that capacity. And we present that to our funding authorities, and we say, this is what it takes. Either our taxes go up, which I'm not a proponent of, or we cut back in other areas, or we find a way, or we live with portables. And either we have the money or we don't. Either we ask for the money or we don't. But it seems as the system prepares its CIP year in, year out, there's never a consideration strategically, when are we going to get rid of the relocatables? And so since you were able to throw out a number of $150 million, hypothetically, over a 10-year period, maybe that's $200 million.
Sure.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I understand.
And it would be great to have an alternative CIP that accomplishes the current roadmap and the strategic dream that so many parents would like to have here in the community.
So a wish list, kind of.
Well, no,
Well, it's a
More specific.
It's a specific
right.
destination.
If we were to accomplish that,
Yeah.
what would it look like and what would the timing be?
Yeah, I mean, it may not be practical, but either the funding authority sees it or not, and either the parents in the community say, oh gosh, this isn't fiscally realistic in our environment.
Or it is and we want to fight for it.
Right, but the common theme in the community is that Howard County school system isn't thinking about anything strategically. You're just jumping from fire to fire. That's just a common thing. Well, I suggest, what if we put out a 10-year roadmap of what it would look like to try to get there? And maybe we can't get there because we can't afford it.
Right.
But the community is begging us to think 5 years, 10 years, 15 years in advance, securing land for this or preparing for that. And the relocatables is one piece of that broader, think ahead projection.
Well, and in all honesty, while I know the relocatable issue continues to be a concern that people raise, I can't say that we don't think ahead. I mean, I think one of the things you have to really look at, and I think we even said it again tonight, is that with the capacity growth that we're having and the limited funds that you're experiencing, you're having to apply that to that. There's so many projects in that long-range plan systemically, that, again, you're trying to make sure that you get to before those systems as they continue to run. Because, again, I mean, you have 80 buildings. Some of them have been renovated, of course. Some of them are newer, but some of the ones are older and things like that. You have to try to stretch those systemic dollars to make sure that we can take care of those other systems. And that's, I guess, the thing about longevity of what you have, especially when you have constrained budgets.
Let me be 100% clear. I absolutely believe you and the team, Mr. Gist, Ms. Kamen, I absolutely believe you guys are looking ahead.
Understand.
And I absolutely believe that much of the problems that we face could have been more proactively handled 20 years ago. If we'd bought land in Elk Ridge 20 years ago, it would have been a lot better. But starting today, how can we be more transparent, more open with the community on, hey, show me where I'm not thinking ahead. We can be intentional and aggressive relative to our visionary thinking, such to mitigate the frustration that parents might feel.
Understand.